All right, let's dive into something a little different today. We're talking Forex, but not just any old Forex strategy. We're looking at this YouTube trader who calls himself Zero Comment.
Oh yeah, I've seen this stuff.
Yeah, and he's making some pretty bold claims, not just about his trading strategy, but also about, get this, funding his community with real money trading accounts.
Yeah, the free funding thing definitely caught my eye too. That's not something you see every day.
Right. Like real money, not demo accounts. So before we get into that whole funding thing, let's break down the actual strategy he's teaching. He describes it as a solid trend-following approach, all about discipline and consistency.
Right, the classic stuff. But I guess the real question is what makes his approach unique?
Well, he talks a lot about using multiple time frames to identify trends and find good entry points. He starts with the 4-hour chart to get a sense of the overall market direction.
Okay, makes sense. You got to know which way the wind is blowing before you set sail.
Exactly. Then he drills down to the 1-hour chart to determine what he calls the market phase.
Market phase. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so he differentiates between a push phase, where the market's moving strongly in the direction of the trend, and a retracing phase, where it's pulling back.
Ah, so he's looking for those moments where the market takes a breather before continuing on its path.
Yep, exactly. He's basically waiting for the setup to come to him rather than chasing the market.
Patience is key, they say.
And this is where it gets really interesting. For his actual trade entries, he uses the classic head and shoulders pattern, but on the 15-minute chart.
Head and shoulders. That's a reversal pattern, isn't it? Seems a bit counterintuitive for a trend-following strategy.
Yeah, at first glance, it does. But I think what he's doing is using the head and shoulders to pinpoint the end of those retracement phases.
Oh, I see. So it's like he's confirming that the pullback is over and the trend is about to resume.
Exactly. It's a way to time his entries with more precision, catching the move as the market swings back in the direction of the main trend.
Clever. It's
Mm.
like using a reversal pattern to actually jump on board the continuation of the trend.
And he's a big advocate for being mechanical about it. No overthinking, just follow the rules. He says you have to stick to the plan, even if the earth is shaking.
Haha. A bit dramatic, but I get the point.
Yeah.
It's all about removing emotion from the equation.
Right, which, let's be honest, can be tough to do in the heat of the moment. But isn't there a risk of becoming too rigid? What if the market conditions change, or there are other signals that contradict the head and shoulders pattern?
That's the eternal struggle for any trader, right? Finding that balance between following the rules and adapting to what the market's telling you, that's where experience and judgment come into play.
Which I guess is why he emphasizes the community aspect so much. He wants people to learn from each other and share their experiences.
Yeah, the whole community angle is interesting, especially considering his stance on the whole Forex education scene.
Oh yeah, he doesn't hold back on that. He's basically calling out all the other YouTubers who are selling courses and memberships, making himself out to be the anti-guru.
It's a good marketing tactic, for sure. It plays into that whole distrust people have towards the get-rich-quick schemes you often see online.
But it also makes you wonder, what's his angle? Why would someone offer free funding to complete strangers?
Right, what's the catch? There has to be something more to it than just pure generosity.
Maybe it's a long-term play. Like, he builds this massive community, gets them all making money, and then down the line, there's some sort of profit-sharing deal that kicks in.
Could be. Or maybe it's more about building his own brand and reputation. He becomes known as the guy who actually empowers traders, not just sells them dreams.
That's a valuable asset in this industry for sure. But even then, the logistics are crazy. How do you manage hundreds, potentially thousands of funded accounts?
And how do you make sure those people are taking it seriously and not just treating it like free gambling money? There are so many questions.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack next. Let's talk about what this whole funding promise could actually mean for someone who's offered this opportunity. What are the potential benefits and risks?
Let's dive in.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. Imagine you're a trader, you've been putting in the work, studying, practicing on demo, and then out of the blue, someone offers you real money to trade with.
It's a dream come true for some,
Oh.
right? But it's also a whole lot of pressure.
For sure, like, whoa, this is real now. But besides the whole not using my own money thing, what are some other advantages of a funded account?
Well, one of the biggest is the psychological impact. Think about it. When it's your own cash on the line, every little move feels huge.
Yeah, you're emotionally invested. Every pip feels like a personal victory or defeat.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in those emotions and make impulsive decisions. But with a funded account, there's a little distance. It's still real, but the pressure's different. You can focus on the strategy, not the emotional roller coaster.
So it's like a safety net. You still feel the heat, but you're not going to completely crash and burn if things go south.
Exactly. You get to test your skills in a live market, build confidence, without the fear of losing your life savings. It's an invaluable experience you just can't get from demo trading.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's be real, there's got to be a flip side to this. If you're not risking your own money, could that make you careless?
Oh, absolutely. That's a real danger. Some people might treat it like a casino, thinking, it's not mine anyway.
Yeah.
And that can lead to reckless trading, bad risk management, basically undoing the whole point of the funding.
Yeah, throwing caution to the wind because you think there are no consequences.
It's a balancing act, right? You want to take away the fear, but not the responsibility. So how do you keep people from going wild? What safeguards could you put in place?
Yeah, how do you make sure they're actually using this opportunity wisely?
Well, the structure of the funding agreement is key. You need clear rules, guidelines, things like risk management, how often they can trade, how much they can lose before it's game over.
So it's not just a free pass, there's accountability.
Right, it's about setting boundaries and expectations. And this is where Zero Comment's emphasis on community and mentorship could be really valuable.
Oh, you mean like not just giving them money, but also plugging them into a network of support?
Yeah, imagine a system where new traders aren't just thrown into the deep end, but get guidance from more seasoned folks. They can learn from each other's mistakes, share ideas, hold each other accountable.
Kind of like a trading boot camp, but with camaraderie instead of yelling.
Right. It's a cool idea, but whether it works in practice, that's another story. Building a real community is tough, especially in a field where everyone's trying to outsmart each other.
Yeah, trading can be cutthroat. It's all about secrets and competition. So can you really foster genuine collaboration in that environment?
It's a challenge, no doubt. But maybe, just maybe, Zero Comment's onto something. By removing the financial barrier and promoting support, you level the playing field. Maybe you create traders who are more focused on long-term success, not just quick wins.
It's a different way of thinking about it, that's for sure. But let's play devil's advocate here. What are some red flags someone should watch out for with these funding offers?
Good point. The first thing is transparency. The terms of the agreement need to be crystal clear. How are profits split? What happens if you break the rules?
So basically, don't just jump at the first free money offer you see.
Right, do your research, read the fine print, understand what you're getting into, and watch out for those unrealistic promises, the guaranteed profits kind of stuff. Trading is risky no matter how much money you have.
If it sounds too good to be true,
It probably is. Another red flag. A lack of focus on education. If it's all about the funding and not about building your skills as a trader, that's a bad sign.
like giving someone a fancy car without teaching them how to drive.
Exactly. A responsible funding provider should be invested in your growth, not just their own bottom line.
Okay, so stepping back a bit. What if this kind of funding model became the norm? Could it change the whole trading education landscape?
It's an intriguing thought. If more and more people had access to funded accounts, it could shake things up, shift the power dynamic.
How so?
Well, right now, it's all about selling courses, subscriptions. The educator makes money by convincing you to buy their stuff.
Which means their focus might be on selling, not on your success as a trader, right?
Right. But with funded accounts, the incentive changes. The funding provider only wins if their traders win.
So they're motivated to provide good training, support, to make sure you actually make money.
Exactly. Everyone benefits from shared success. It's more like a partnership than a transaction.
So instead of buying a product, you're buying into a service almost.
That's a good way to put it. And that could lead to more transparency, more accountability across the industry.
But it raises some questions too, like who would qualify for this kind of funding? Would it be open to anyone, or would there be some kind of criteria?
Yeah, you'd need some vetting process, right? Make sure the funding goes to people who are serious about learning, who have the potential to succeed.
Otherwise, it's just chaos, people blowing up accounts left and right.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot, being accessible, but also selective.
And what about regulations? Would this new model even fit within the existing financial rules?
That's a big one. We're talking about serious money here. So there need to be clear guidelines, protections for both sides.
Yeah, navigating the regulatory maze is never easy.
Definitely not. It would require a collaborative effort between the industry, regulators, legal experts. You got to make sure everything's above board and everyone's protected.
So it sounds like we're maybe on the edge of a major shift in how trading works, both the learning and the financial side.
It's an exciting time to be in this world. The old ways are being challenged, and new possibilities are popping up everywhere.
All right, so bringing it back to our listeners, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive into zero comment and his unique approach?
I think the big takeaway is that this community-driven funded model could be the future. It emphasizes shared success, mentorship, a whole different way of thinking about trading. Whether it works out, who knows? But it's definitely worth paying attention to.
And as always, folks, do your research. Weigh the pros and cons, see if it fits your goals and your risk tolerance.
Exactly. Trading's a personal journey. There's no one right answer. But it's good to know your options and to think critically about any opportunity that comes your way.
Well said. So that wraps up our look at zero comment and this whole funding thing. We'll keep an eye on it, and you should too. It'll be interesting to see where this goes.
You know what's really striking me about all this? It's how much emphasis Zero Comment puts on the human side of trading. The psychology, the community, trust. It's making me rethink what truly means to be a successful trader.
Yeah, it is kind of a refreshing change, isn't it? We often get so caught up in the technicals, the charts and indicators and strategies that we forget about the human element.
Exactly. Like, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're battling fear and greed and self-doubt all the time, are you really going to be able to execute consistently?
Not a chance.
Yeah.
That's where this whole community idea gets interesting. Think about it. Having a group of people all working towards the same goal, supporting each other, helping you stay on track, that could be incredibly powerful.
It's like having a workout buddy.
Right.
You push each other, keep each other accountable, celebrate wins together. Exactly. And that's something that's often missing. With the traditional way trading's taught, you buy a course, you might join a forum, but it's not the same.
It's more like transactional, you're a customer, not part of something bigger.
Right. And that's what Zero Comment seems to be trying to shift. He wants to build something where people feel connected, supported, where they can learn and grow together.
But, let's be real. Building a genuine community is tough. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another to make it work.
Oh, for sure. There are tons of challenges, like how do you handle conflict? Trading's subjective. People are going to disagree on strategy, analysis, risk.
Yeah, you need some ground rules, some way to handle those disagreements without it turning into a shouting match.
Exactly. And then there's the trust factor. How do you make sure everyone's acting in good faith, that no one's trying to game the system, especially when there's money involved?
Yeah, because with real money on the line, the temptation to cut corners or, even cheat, that's got to be huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you need transparency. You need rules and consequences for breaking those rules. You need a way to resolve disputes fairly. It's about more than just warm, fuzzy feelings.
Right. It's got to be built on a solid foundation. You need trust, integrity, respect, the whole package.
And that takes work. It takes commitment from everyone involved.
But if you can pull it off, the payoff would be huge, right?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine a community where people aren't just getting better at trading, but they're also forming real connections, supporting each other on a personal level.
That goes way beyond just making profits. That's about building something meaningful, finding a sense of belonging.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave our listeners with some questions to chew on.
Hit us with them.
Could this be the future of trading? This community-focused, funded approach? What are the benefits, the risks for both the traders and the industry as a whole? And maybe the biggest question, what role does trust play in making all this work?
Big questions, for sure. Definitely something for our listeners to think about as they continue on their trading journeys.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Share your comments, your insights. Let's keep this conversation going.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe for more. And until next time, happy trading.